Hey, I'm ARTmuffin. Today I'll be walking through the steps involved in drawing and painting this crazy floating goat creature. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so today we're going to do this drawing and painting of this goat, demon, guy, woman, creature, whatever you want to call it. Just something that kind of came to me one day. I had done the skull that you can see above a couple days before, and I had this new red paint pen that I was playing around with and was really enjoying that and enjoying the palette that I had started using with the skull above. So I thought I would just start doing some more of that stuff and see where it led. And I had this image and this idea, I think inspired by the Shub-Niggurath that H.P. Lovecraft kind of mentions, but it's what is like a goat deity with 1,000 goat children or something like that. I'd have to go back and look at it, but do the research again. But loosely based on that, but basically, when I was listening to a podcast that had mentioned it, and it just immediately put this picture in my head of this floating kind of goat, kind of animal creature, and that really stuck in my mind. That was probably a couple of months ago that popped into my head, and I've just been carrying it around with me, and so it finally decided that it wanted out. So this drawing and painting is that cleansing. That, I don't want to say exorcism because that's way too religious and implies that it's a bad creature, and I don't necessarily know that that's the case with this, so we're just going to say it's a cleansing. So I'm using a watercolor pencil here. It's the brand is Derwent, and someone gave them to me as a gift, and I don't remember why, and I'm sorry if you're listening and you're the one that gave them to me and I don't remember, but I do very much appreciate it, so thank you very much. So I thought that I would try doing the sketches with watercolor pencil, knowing that if I hit it with enough water, it could all just wash away. But I also like the idea of it washing away, and then just kind of using colors that I had planned on using in the paint palette anyway. When I sketch with color pencil, like oftentimes you'll see people sketching with the blue color pencil that doesn't get picked up by scanners, but it doesn't wash away when you hit it with a bunch of water, whereas these watercolor pencils are made for that. So I figured it would be ideal for me to be able to kind of loosely block in the idea, but get it in enough that I kind of knew what I was painting, but then I knew that I could always paint it away, wash it away with water if I wanted to, because I'll be painting this with acrylics, which are water-based, and I like to thin those out and use them as a wash, basically, where you use a lot of water to thin it out and make it look like watercolor. So I've got this, obviously, this green circle template that I use for a lot of the circles, for the sigils and the writing that I do. The sigils and the writing, sigils being the symbols, the larger symbols that you're seeing here, they're all stream of consciousness, just shapes and lines, characters that just come to me as I'm drawing. So I just kind of let those come out. And I have a sense of what they're supposed to look like as I'm drawing them, and I can kind of tell like if I'm going in the wrong direction with a line or with a circle within either within a circle or within the piece. It just doesn't quite feel right, so I won't try to force it to work. I'll just keep kind of working it around in my head and using the stencil until it feels right, and then I'll block it in. So here I've used the red color pencil to block in the red writing and sigils. I apologize for the quality getting a little bit worse here. I was live streaming this using Facebook. That was the pens that were just on the screen. That's what I was using. But I was live streaming it with Facebook, and it kind of got messed up and compressed somehow, so the quality's not quite as good. So I apologize for that. But so I'm using this water-based brush paint pen for the lettering, the lines, the sigils, all the strange writing. Knowing that it's water-based, knowing that once water hits it, it's going to run and spread. I wasn't prepared for how much it would spread, which was actually a really nice surprise. Once the water hits it, it really just starts to run. So I had to be conscious of that and how much I wanted to wash out while I was painting. So that was a fun learning curve, and it's fun trying to control something that you can't control, and just knowing that it's semi-controlled chaos, so it's always going to do whatever it wants to do. You can just kind of be working around the edges and try to coerce it a little, but ultimately it creates itself, which is pretty cool to me. So here I think I've got all the red blocked in. Situate the bugs, and then I move the palette over a little bit so you guys could kind of see just, I don't know, what I do with the paints, I guess. So that is a white. I put down two different types of white. There's a titanium was the one that I ended up. Actually, I don't think I used either white. That was kind of a waste of paint. But the titanium is a bit more opaque, and I thought I was going to need that, but it ended up that I didn't really need it. So I've got a few different colored blues there, and a couple different reds. I really wanted to kind of stick to a fairly limited palette. I like the simplicity of it when the palette's limited. It forces me to be more creative with what I have, and then try to figure out ways to solve some of the problems later with the ink, like with the pens and with the brush, but with the micron pens. So basically with pen and ink, filling in the details. So here I'm just kind of going in with a light wash of the lighter blue and just blocking in some shapes, and already kind of playing with the reds and getting those to bleed a little bit, seeing what they do. That part of the fun is just hitting it with paint and water and seeing what happens. Like, as you can see, I'm not controlling where this red is going. It's taken on a life of its own now that it's on the page and now that it's met the creature. So they're doing their own thing. I'm just kind of painting around. Mixing in some purple, so some alizarin, crimson, and some phthalo blue, most likely. I think that's what I was using. Just getting some purple, and then oftentimes I'll start with the light wash, and kind of see where some highlights are, and then I'll go back and start blocking in what are going to be shadows and just starting to build that up a little bit. So like right here you can see that I'm building up the back of this creature's robe, so that would be the torn part that's actually behind his arm. You'll be able to tell a little better as the painting progresses. But so so he, she, it has this cloak that it's wearing that I wanted to look kind of like it was a cloak of royalty at one time, but now it's just tattered and falling apart, but it still wears it. You know, I don't know if it's because it's holding on to it or holding on to a memory of what it used to be, or if it's just been around so long it just wears this and doesn't care. I don't know. It's the creature doing its thing. And you can see that I was splashing a little bit of water. And here I'm blocking in a little bit of the colors, or the corners, excuse me. It's kind of subtle right now, and it might be a little bit hard to tell in the video, but once the tape gets pulled away, it's pretty obvious where the corners will be, even though the wash that I put down is pretty subtle. So that was a gold paint that I was just showing. That's going to be for down the center of the robe, as if it were trimmed in gold at some point, and now it's again just kind of tattered and ripped up. You can see I've got some water splashed up near the top, just for some texture, and I'll continue to do that with this piece and with a lot of my pieces, but especially this series that I'm doing right now. I kind of like the look of this, so I'm gonna stick with this for a little while until I get bored, and then I don't know, I'll move on to something else. And there are still gouache pages that I need to finish up that are halfway done or sketched and need to be inked and painted. But so here I'm blocking in some more details. You can see it's kind of starting to come together a bit. Yeah, I'm working on a little bit more detail, more shadow, getting some of the lines of the robe blocked in a little bit more, just so I can kind of tell where I need to go next. Working in some midtones with some purples. You can see purple starting to build up in the robe. And one of the things I liked about this is that even though I'm using a lot of blues for the skin in the robe, because the red is bleeding into it, it's still looking pretty purple. So I like that. And so yeah, unfortunately the video that I had, it crapped out on me, the Facebook one I was telling you about, but you didn't miss much. I think I just did a little bit more wash in a little bit, and then the trees at the bottom. So here I've got this pen, this brush pen that I've filled up with ink that I'm using to start to do the outlines here and there, but still, you know, kind of keeping it loose. One of the things I like about these brush pens, but I also don't like about them, is they're bristles. So the bristles can spread, or one can get longer and throw off your line, or they can start to fray. So just another organic piece that could go wrong or mess things up for you, and then that just becomes a part of the painting, and you just, I don't know, you deal with it. I suppose you could probably fix it if you tried hard enough, or depending on what medium you're using, but when it's stuff like this, with these, I kind of want them to look like they were done possibly in haste or from memory or just loosely. So if everything's not super clean, I feel like that's okay and works and possibly even helps the piece. So here I think I'm getting some greens. Yeah, I think that was Hooker's green, and then there was a brighter green that I had. So I'm actually going to mix the two a little bit, and then I think I pulled in a tiny bit of the purple, just to start to build the trees up, just give them a little bit more body so you can kind of tell what they are a little bit more. 'Cause right now they're kind of washed out, so I wanted to build that up so it was a little more obvious that there are trees in the background. I wanted the creature to kind of seem like it was above the tree line. So just getting some of that built in a little bit more so it's a little more obvious that it's forest. And here, pushing some of that green in, especially in the shadows and the underside of the creature, just for the reflective light and to pull everything together a little bit better. The green, the trees would be reflecting up onto this creature if it were actually above them or, you know, kind of within them. So throwing the green on there as like a bounce light basically will bring these two things together more. The creature and the trees kind of brings the piece together more. I'm kind of doing the same thing here, that I'm using a really washed out brush but still has green on it up in the corners there. That was what I was doing there, to kind of bring the green around the piece some more, to close it in a little bit and bring it together. And here, this is something I'm getting the brush wet with this bluish green and just spattering it on, and you know, you just hope for the best. It's going to fall where it falls. I suppose you can control it by trying to soak it up really quickly, but like, there's not much control that you have once you just start tossing paint and water on there, because it's just kind of there and it's random. And I really like that, just having this randomness in the work that I don't even really have control over, other than the fact that I was the one holding the brush. So here I'm back with the Micron pen, or probably several of them, cleaning up some lines, adding in some detail, some hatching, and probably a little bit of cross hatching going on, but mostly just some hatching in the creases, you know, just some really short, quick lines, just to add some more detail and to give it a little more depth, beyond what I had done with the paint. So still adding in more detail, using the paper towel over top and under my hand so I don't smudge things too much. But I think at this point it's probably safe, but I don't want to smudge it because it's my baby. Don't smudge your baby. It's a quote of the day. And so here, just working in a lot more details, which you can't see it here as much, but in the final photos you can see the details in the robe and in the horns. I guess they're horns, not antlers. And there I just added a gosh alphabet type tattoo around its arm, just to keep it in the world, in the gosh world, and in the ARTmuffin world. All right, so that's all I got for you. I hope you liked it. If you have questions, please feel free to post them. And thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting me on Patreon. Thanks for following my work. it really means a lot, and it really keeps me going, keeps me motivated. So thank you very much for doing that. And if you're not following me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. It's #ARTmuffin_studio. My website's artmuffin.com. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/artmuffinstudio. I'm around, you can find me. But thanks again for watching. I hope you liked it, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.